Cineverm. Hello and welcome to Cineverm, a podcast discussing films in and out of the cinema. My name is Anthony Renteria, and today I'm joined by Helen Albee Cottingham.
Hello.
And this week we are discussing the 2022 film Elvis, directed by Baz Luhrmann and starring Tom Hanks and Austin Butler. And here's the synopsis: from his childhood in Tupelo, Mississippi, to his rise to stardom starting in Memphis, Tennessee, and his conquering of Las Vegas, Nevada, Elvis Presley becomes the first rock and roll star and changes the world with his music. As always, we will begin with a spoiler-free review, and then after our ratings, we will dive into a full spoiler discussion. Okay, so I guess before we give our initial impressions, I just want to say, for any of the Elvis heads or Elvis haters, neither I or Helen, I think, are considered Elvis experts, so like, anything we say is solely based on this film. So if it was wrong in the film and we're commenting on it, then we're commenting on something wrong. We are just judging the film.
Yeah, I don't feel one way or the other about Elvis.
Yeah. Okay, so that out of the way. What were your initial impressions of Elvis? Directed by Baz Luhrmann.
It was exhausting to watch. It was bright and loud and colorful, and as soon as it started and it was this very like snap, 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 snap pace, like I was like, how is a biopic that's almost 3 hours long going to be this fast paced the whole time? And I was like, I don't know if I can do this speed at which I'm being hit with all these images and all these story elements. I got used to it, or I got numb to it, or maybe it did slow down a little bit as the story went on. The beginning felt very frenetic.
Yeah. I felt that. My initial impressions were very similar to you. Like, the movie started and I was like, okay, this is just like an intro thing. Like, this like flash speed montage of events is surely just like, okay, we got to catch you up and then we'll actually experience a normal film. But no, it was just like, it was like a collage montage infusion of Elvis Presley's life.
Yeah.
I guess because he's done so much. And I think that's like the difficult thing with like biopics, because like I've always wondered, or I've been curious about like wanting to tackle a biopic. Actually, like I think Elvis was one of the two musicians that I was interested in previous to watching this movie. I don't know if I would now, knowing his story. The other one I don't think I'll ever want to make now is was Michael Jackson, but that'd be a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I saw one like mini-series made in the 90s that was like 5 hours long for Michael Jackson.
Really?
And that seemed long enough for to tell the whole entire story. And otherwise, condensing a person's life into a film is difficult anyway. Mm-hmm. And then someone as complicated as Elvis, you would have to basically feel like you were fast-forwarding through his life the whole time. And that's how this movie felt. Yeah,
this movie definitely wanted to tell his whole life. And I think that's probably like one of the mistakes, in my opinion, of this movie. Like, I think biopics are way better if they are very precise, like a precise moment that can kind of define their whole life. Or, you can cover a whole life, but spend time in the important parts. Like, I think one of my favorite biopics about a musician specifically is probably the Johnny Cash one.
Yeah, Walk the Line.
Yeah, and I think that did a really great job. But that film had a very core, like, elemental focus where I don't think this film did. Where, like, for that film, it was totally about the drug addiction and, like, overcoming that. And there was a perfect arc because Johnny Cash did get clean and because he was so, like, he went through that crazy phase and came out the other side, where I feel like most biopics is, like, they became a drug addict and then they died. Yeah. And then it was horrible. And where for Johnny Cash, it was kind of a different narrative.
Yeah.
And then the powerful love story of him and June, I think, was very, very important and unique to them.
Well, my favorite biopic is I'm Not There, the Bob Dylan one.
Oh, man, see, I want to watch that one.
It's barely a biopic. It doesn't really cover his life so much as it covers aspects of his personality. And I think that's the way to really capture a human being, is to break them apart like that. So no one, but if anybody ever does it again, they're just copying I'm Not There. So it's the definitive biopic for me.
Really?
And it can never be done again, and it's perfect. And all biopics are kind of lame because they're always this structure of childhood, love interest, death, and I don't especially like them. I really liked Ray, but I
Oh,
can't
see,
remember
didn't
why
watch
I
that one.
really liked Ray. I just remember it being more captivating than some of the others I've seen.
Yeah.
And then the spoof of biopics, Dewey Cox, was
That
also
is
very funny.
classic. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is so good. It has no right to be as good as it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised anyone wants to make a biopic after that movie
After Dewey
exists.
Cox, yeah, because it's like you're just doing the part where he's having all the girlfriends backstage. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
It's such a tired formula.
Yeah.
But our buddy Baz here, he tried real hard to
Yeah.
freshen it up and liven it up and really do Elvis justice. And
I think that was the negative part. I guess the big thing, and I don't think this is a spoiler because I kind of wish I would have known this going into the film because I think it would have made me at least anticipate what we were going to watch. And the movie is most definitely not from Elvis's perspective.
yeah,
Like, it is so hardcore not from his perspective.
yeah.
It almost felt awkward in the theater because the movie just immediately starts with this manager guy.
Yeah,
and
all
he
about
is
his manager, yeah.
Yeah, and he is like the narrative tether to kind of jump around these time periods and through his life. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not to spoil anything, but I mean, this is the trope of all biopics is like, it's a terrible manager.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like constantly reusing that refrain. And I think it was like very one note.
And
it
the story was being told to us by the terrible manager.
Yeah.
So it's like we're not getting to see, like, is this how Elvis would want us to experience his life, is told by this asshole that took advantage of him?
Yeah, like it feels very evil and like kind of toxic and like kind of dumb because I mean, no offense to Tom Hanks. He's a great performer, but I don't know. I always just felt like it was someone acting.
Yeah.
And then with the Elvis, the Elvis performance by Austin Butler, like he did such a good job. There'd be like when we spent enough time with Elvis, I started to forget, and I was like, oh, this is just like a thing they got from like a live Elvis performance because it just felt so real. Even to, well, I mean that's kind of getting into spoilers what they do in the end, but so yeah, I think everyone should know that this film has like one of the dumbest plot mechanisms by censoring it on the person that the movie title is not named after. Mm-hmm. Like it should have been called whatever is stupid. I already forgot his name. Colonel Peter Sanders or whatever.
Yeah. The Colonel, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I guess to kind of speed through this review, was there any like technical things that you found interesting or?
I mean, I found the movie very beautiful when I was not getting a headache from it. Like the colors and the lights and the crystal clear, sparkling everything all the time. I think is very this filmmaker, because I've just seen Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything else this guy's
You haven't
done.
seen his Great Gatsby?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, just this extremely high energy, extremely bright colors, extremely sharp every single angle, just glistening. The screen was just glistening all the time. And like that was both very beautiful and very entertaining and worked really well sometimes, and also just made my eyes hurt other times.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're going to do a movie that's largely taking place in Las Vegas, it would need to be kind of an eyesore of a movie. So it was true to itself, but I don't know if that means I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. The visuals I found very enjoyable, but I found the edit, like you're saying, was way too much. It was way just destroying my psyche. Yeah. Like it just felt like I was just devolving into... like, I don't know what I was devolving into, but it was just like absorbing images.
I mean, it was making me actively anxious.
Yeah.
Truly. I think, and maybe you're right, it was the editing, it wasn't the cinematography, because I was like, is it that the colors are too bright that they're hurting my eyes, or is it just the flashing between different...
it was just, we were never holding long enough. And that really bothered me because, like I said earlier, like, Austin Butler is killing this role.
Yeah,
like,
he
absolutely
was awesome.
demolishing it. And I think it's perfect, like, for, you know, when you're making a biopic about, like, a very known figure, like, it really helps when it's a actor that isn't, you know, like Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt or even Joaquin Phoenix was like very recognizable. And like, I never see Johnny Cash when I watch that, even though I love Phoenix's performance, like I still see Phoenix. But with Butler, because I am not familiar with him and he's not like a megastar that I know of, maybe he is in like the TV world or something. But like, I completely I saw Elvis. Like, I didn't know who this guy was, and he was just like, oh, this is just Elvis. And the editing did not help that. But yeah, the cinematography by Mandy Walker, she did a fantastic job, and she's done a couple other movies recently.
It absolutely looked beautiful for sure.
Yeah, and but yeah, I really liked a lot of the compositions, and then like the lighting, and then I also liked like you were saying, the costumes and makeup I thought was very, very good, especially with like a character is like not outgoing, but like so flashy.
Yeah.
As Elvis, I think that's like a very, like, I think it's actually difficult to nail an aesthetic of a person who has a very significant style, because if you don't do it right, then you just look like an impersonator, or you look cheap. Like I remember, like Rocket Man was a movie that I really loved. I forgot the artist that it's about.
David Bowie.
No.
Right? No, Rocketman. Oh, Elton John.
Yeah, Elton John. And
Sorry.
he is like, he has that hugely flamboyant like costume design in his shows, and that movie really nailed it, and I was like really excited. And this one, you know, it's not as flashy, but he still has that weird significant style. And then the way his like, I don't know, something about his like face is also like very, I don't know if they did stuff with the makeup to like add certain contours on him, but it always felt like kind of unreal in a good way. Like, oh, this guy is not, like, it felt like almost like a clown putting on a show, but in a good way, because he was so made up, like during a lot of his key performances. But yeah, so the visuals were amazing. I really liked the soundtrack. There was like moments where it wasn't Elvis music.
I was gonna ask you about that. Like, how did it make you feel that there would be like bumping hip hop sometimes, like hardcore? Because it made me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Where I was like, wait, okay, this is a period piece. This is historic, and like now we're making Elvis a gangsta. Like, I don't know. Like,
again, I did not like the editing of any of those sequences, but I did like the like. But that was something I was expecting, because I don't know if you did that in Romeo and Juliet, but in The Great Gatsby,
a lot of pop music in Romeo and Juliet. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So in The Great Gatsby, it was just like, it was like just a stupid barrage of like hip hop music.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was very against it, and then I accepted it, and I was like, all right, this is cool. And I liked it in this one. I liked how it wasn't like full songs either. It was just like kind of interstitial moments.
Yeah.
And instead of hearing, but then he also like, I don't know, it's like a weird collage of music and score that like you never knew when one started or one ended. Like I didn't know, like, wait, is this song we're listening to a song that like Elvis reappropriates later into his musical career, or is it just a hip hop song, or is it a blend of both, or is this like a score? Because you would hear instruments like fade in and out.
Yeah.
And I actually, I mean, I think it will be like polarizing. Some people will find it very annoying, but I think the craft of it is very impressive to mix hip hop with Elvis, you know, gospel music. And it's like, that makes no freaking sense, and that won't work. But then it kind of works. So I thought that was an impressive trait of this movie. And then, yeah, those are all the technical things. So I guess, what would you rate this movie out of 10?
I kind of feel like being mean to it, because it gave me a headache and it made me anxious, and it was very, very long, and I have no emotional attachment to Elvis whatsoever. I was never an Elvis head. But there were such good things about it. I don't know. I can't decide whether to do a 4 or a 6.
Yeah.
Like, do I want to be nice to it and compliment, like, and see the good in it, or do I want to be just totally punish it for giving me a headache? Maybe I would actually enjoy this movie more on a small screen at home.
Oh, like it was just a barrage.
The extremely frenetic pace of it was just too much for me in the theater, and that's why it's a 4 right now. And if I maybe watch it at home later, it will go to a 6 or a 7. But yeah, right now I'm going to say 4.
Okay. Well, I'm on the other end of that. I'm at a 6 out of 10. I thought it was all right. I almost thought it was good. If it would have like shifted the perspective a little bit, I think it would have gotten to like 7 out of 10 territory. But yeah, as it is, 6 out of 10. And even though I really, 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 really hate the like plot mechanism of using the manager, I still kind of like it because it is different. Like I've never seen another biopic where you start with the evil villain that everyone knows is going to be the evil villain of every musical biopic, and then using him as like, I think there's a way to do that would have been insanely interesting. Like I feel like if he would have committed more to it and us sympathize with the manager the entire film, and then at some point pull the rug under us, then it would have really worked out. But as it is, it just I don't know.
Yeah,
But
it seemed nasty the whole time.
Yeah. And would you? I don't know. Would you recommend it to anyone?
Yeah, I don't know if it would
heads?
hurt people who love Elvis's feelings and make them mad, or if they would love it.
Yeah.
I mean, the performance was amazing.
Yeah.
So if you want to see a really beautiful, like, maybe it wasn't accurate because I'm not strong enough in my Elvis lore to even know if it was accurate, but like a really, like the actor fully commits.
Yeah.
And in a world filled with Elvis impersonators, it's hard to stand out when you're behaving as Elvis. And I believed this guy was Elvis.
Yeah. That impersonation line, like I don't even know what that is. Like, is it just not committing hard enough? Maybe there's like a certain swagger that is like a very ethereal thing that a lot of impersonators don't get. Like, they get all the high points and the movements, but there's like that weird, like, I don't know, when someone has it, they have it.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to see a really amazing Elvis performance, go see it. But I mean, I guess maybe if you really love Elvis, there might be things about this that annoy you or upset you or make you feel like it doesn't do him justice. And maybe if you hate Elvis, you'll think this glorifies him too much and makes him look like too much of a saint and a hero. Yeah. I don't know where to land. I don't know who to recommend it to. There were a lot of old people in our screening, and they seemed unhappy.
Yeah.
So we were like the only young people in the entire building, or in the entire room. And they seemed tense. They seemed shifting in their seat. They seemed, someone like I think openly scoffed. So I don't know. Like the old timer Elvis heads might not like this movie.
But the other interesting thing is I don't know what's going on in the world right now, but this is like, so I watched Top Gun. People started applauding wildly at the end of that movie. Like, it was a Marvel event. Like, everything has changed. Thanos just got the gauntlet. Everything is game over. And in this movie, like, one person started clapping, and then like 5 or 6 people started clapping, and I was like, what is going on? Like, this is a Sunday, like, midday showing. Yeah. There should be no clapping. But I guess people are really vibing. Well, I think there was some people who were extremely vibing. I think it was just because they loved Elvis and they like, felt that the gyrations coming through, even on the film version. But speaking of that, we'll go into the spoilers and speak of the gyrations in much detail. Mm-hmm. So that will conclude our review portion of Elvis. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can pause the podcast now. And while you do that, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or comment on what you thought about the film or our takes on it. And you can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or email us at cineverm@yahoo.com. And check out our snazzy website, cineverm.com, where we have written reviews, speaking reviews. Check out my personal YouTube channel, A Lonely Critic, where I do solo reviews. And check out Movies for Decades, a podcast where Helen and her brothers, Colin and John, discuss films through the decades. Okay, but now spoiler time. Well, what do you think about the gyrating hip movement?
That was so funny. That was definitely laugh out loud moments throughout the movie. And I mean, I know that he was like a sex symbol and people would like throw their underwear up on the stage and stuff. I knew that he danced wildly and crazily, but I somehow didn't connect that it was literally the crotch thrusting that was the thing that like was driving all the ladies wild.
Yeah.
There was not ambiguous. Yeah. And it was not complicated.
See, I knew his crazy dancing was a thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I didn't know the actual, like, I am air humping in front of all these women right now. And that's my thing and that's my shtick. But I actually liked that was the thing because it started giving me kind of vibes. Like, I'm trying to think, like Magic Mike. And there was another, like, stripper movie that I had seen. And there's like, I think strippers, like, you know, that in that profession, they get a lot of like pleasure and excitement from like feeling energy from an audience. Mm-hmm, like when you have someone who is just like in the zone with you, it feels like a very deep, intimate connection. And I like how this movie, it didn't really talk about that, but I could feel from Austin Butler's performance and extras who were screaming, like it felt like he got pleasure from them getting some sort of crazy like fantasy pleasure as well. Yeah. And like that really drove him and he loved like that he could impact someone and make them feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think it really, goes over the edge and into like, okay, that's kind of not okay, is when he starts kissing all his fans in a lot of his shows and like grabbing them and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, so this is like, I don't know. And that's why I wish this would have been tackled by like a more sophisticated, I mean, not calling Boz unsophisticated, but like someone more introspective. Like I would like to see internally what is happening in Elvis's psyche to desire more and more. Like they kind of touch it on in the movie, like it was his fans that killed him, the love. It's like I would love to actually see or feel what he was feeling on that stage when he was doing that, and the impact that has on someone.
And it wasn't just how quote unquote sexy it was. Like it made me want to go back and find actual more video of Elvis dancing, because I love to see a person who is doing something that they enjoy with every molecule in their body. And he just, I don't know if it was this actor or if that was really Elvis that just loved to sing and loved to dance, and he felt it in his whole body, and he loved music. And I really got that from this movie, that this man just had found his calling and his passion, and it was just vibrating out of him.
Yeah.
In every second, it just overtook him in a literally spiritual kind of way, because he discovered this at a tent revival, according to the movie.
Yeah.
And so, yes, he was gyrating, but he was also kind of transcending. And it's amazing to watch anyone do anything if they love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing to watch a person do what they love.
Yeah.
And so I think that was part of his power, and part of why he was so overwhelming to women, because, again, men that can dance, hot automatically. And then he's dancing so hard with so much passion. It's like the music is possessing him.
Yeah.
And he's just watching a human being go into a flow state like that is beautiful and sexy, no matter what they're doing. And he just happened to be doing hip gyrations.
Yeah.
So
I agree 1000%. Like some of my favorite artists, like I've never seen any major show live, but like I've seen recordings of like, one of my favorite artists is like Trent Reznor, and like when he does a show and he gets into it, like the performance stops mattering, like the actual singing of the song, like that's not important anymore, and you just see the whole band kind of enter that, like what you're calling like a flow state. And then for him, his music is kind of like not violent, but is very like action oriented. So he's on the ground like fucking slamming his mic down or breaking guitars or whatever. Or even like I felt like another artist that did that in like to a T that I didn't really recognize until you just mentioned it was like Kurt Cobain. Like the way he like performed was a part of his music. And like the recordings are amazing, but like to see that live, I think probably just did so much to people, and it like influenced and captivated and moved them. And then like here with the women specifically, it's like, and I guess this is so early, like I don't know enough about music history to see like who was the first one to like gyrate on live TV.
I mean, probably him.
But it felt like a huge moment, and it felt like a kind of expression that people weren't used to, especially like I mean men are still like extremely conservative when it comes to like expression, and like especially when it involves your body, like movements are kind of like subconsciously judged, like, oh, you're doing that a little too flamboyantly or something. And I think just what he did, it was like very extreme for his time period. So I think it's also very beautiful. Especially there's like parts in the movie where he was on the ground like screaming. Yeah. And then just like shaking, like he was having like a freaking
seizure.
Yeah, like
or
a seizure.
He's about to start speaking in tongues.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, was he like the first like the first one to like show like because like that's popular in like grunge or like metal or whatever, where people are just like losing control of their body in like a very rock way. Like I knew he was like quote unquote the king of rock, but I was like, oh yeah, that's a rock as fuck. Like him just like fucking screaming on the ground like So I really love that. And
it makes me want to go back and find old Elvis footage to see if it was exaggerated for the movie or if that's really how he was. and see if it's that actor's performance and the direction being like, go break the knob off, start thrashing. And like, was that just Boz and the very good actor together and their alchemy, or was Elvis really that way? Because I've seen some footage of Elvis, and I don't really remember it being that wild. But it could just be I haven't seen very much footage of Elvis.
Yeah, same. Well, speaking of the footage stuff, I guess like so how the film ends is with his last performance that he gave, and he's singing a song. Did you notice when the transition happened when it was Austin to the like real?
I did notice, but it was crazy because I questioned myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the actor had like very pointy like what's it on your lips? That little place that's pointy. Yeah. He had very prominent lips that Elvis didn't quite have. And so I noticed that the lips looked like rounder and smoother. Cupid's bow. That's what that's called.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, wait, that's real Elvis because the lips look different.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. And normally I don't like when films try to like make something look like it's a capture, but this film did that a lot, and I kind of actually dug it. Like when you're watching a performance in the film reality, and then it cuts to like a TV of that.
It's like the grainy black and white. Yeah. And I kept thinking those were old-timey footage, and then they kept not being. They kept being the actor.
Yeah.
And I kept being... I was like... Because you could so easily just splice in archival footage left and right. Yeah. I feel like other biopics have done that. But they did not until the end. And I'm impressed. That impressed me.
Yeah. I really love that. And yeah, that was a great performance, I guess. From like Butler starting off the song and then having actual Elvis finish the song. It felt like a very emotional tie, which again, like I guess we should talk about the manager thing and I guess more specifics. What did you think like specifically about Tom Hanks's performance? Like, do you think you bought into that?
I briefly at times bought into it. Tom Hanks, he's got such a distinctive voice, and he's played every character ever, and I've seen so many things with him in it, and he's such a beloved. He's America's dad. Like, so it's really...
And he's the villain.
And he's the villain, so that was cool. Like, I was kind of excited for him. He's getting to play this, like, nasty, weird villain with a Dutch accent or whatever.
Yeah.
And there were moments because of the fat suit, I think, that I forgot it was him for, like, a second or less, and then I would hear his voice and be like, it was disorienting every time. I was like having, I don't know, whiplash, like, America's dad, oh no, terrible man, oh no, America's dad, no, terrible man. Like, it was a push and pull in my brain.
Yeah.
And I think it was good. There were moments where I was like, whoa, Tom Hanks is getting another Oscar. And then there were other times where I was like, Tom Hanks, what are you doing? You're too nice to be this nasty. I don't believe you. Yeah. So it was very back and forth. This movie gave me whiplash in all kinds of ways. Yeah. My brain was overstimulated.
Do you think it was specifically the accent that made him not feel as connective as maybe he could have?
Yeah.
Because that's what it was for me. Like, I wish... Like, I get they have to have that Dutch accent or whatever accent it is because he is like a foreigner for the narrative. But I think if they would have done it and maybe in real life he had a very heavy one, but I think at some point you got to make like a creative decision. Like, all right, is this disorienting? Like, yes, maybe he has this accent in real life. Can we tone it down to where people don't think about it? Because like every time he talked, it was very upfront.
Yeah.
Where like Elvis, like he has a very distinctive speaking pattern, but everything was always instantly understandable. I don't know why it worked for him, but it didn't work for Tom Hanks.
Because he was an unknown actor and Tom Hanks is a known actor.
So that's what threw it off.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, and I don't know why you needed Tom Hanks. Like, I mean, I love Tom Hanks. Maybe he really wanted to do this part, but like, I think I would have, like, if you have your titular character, played not by nobody, but not by like an all-star star like Tom Hanks. Like, why wouldn't you just get the manager to be, another equally known person to where it's like, whoa, these two people are just going at it. Because it could have felt like these two people are like boxing, in a performance kind of state. Because I honestly thought there was times where, I mean, every scene where Tom Hanks goes for it, like emotionally, I think Austin Butler like actually did better than him.
Yeah, I
every
was
time.
I was outside of the movie a lot whenever they had really good one-on-one scenes. I was like, this lucky guy. I bet he's just starstruck the whole shoot. Like, he's getting to have he's getting taught to act by one of the greatest actors in Hollywood and one of the nicest men. And here he is getting all these scenes one-on-one with Tom Hanks. What a lucky, lucky guy. I bet he is just shaking in his boots right now. How can he maintain the Elvis accent when he's having to make eye contact with Tom Hanks for this long? Like, and then, yeah, I was like, he's going to remember this for the rest of his life. He's going to be like, I got this big break and I got to work with Tom and it changed me. Like, I was just thinking too much about that. I was completely gone and like, look at this lucky young actor getting this great mentor. But you're not that's not the two characters' relationship. It's not a mentor and aspiring person. It's a guy who is imprisoned by a con man. Yeah. And yeah, I completely forgot that was the dynamic because I was just like, oh, look at them acting at each other. Look at this out there. He's so lucky. Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
They're both acting so hard. Clap, 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 clap.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's going to be easy. I mean, I hope Austin gets something because here's the other thing. Like, he actually sang. Well, last I checked, in an interview I heard, he said he sang all the parts. So if that is incorrect, someone please let me know. But from my understanding, he sang all the songs. Amazing. Yeah. And I think, okay, so that really pisses me off about, like, just going a little mini Oscar chat about, what the fuck was the movie called? What is it? Rami Malek?
Oh, yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah, he didn't sing a single, like, syllable of that movie. Like, none of his voice is in that movie. And
he got the Oscar.
And that just drives me bananas. And, like, Rocket Man, I think the following year, I was rooting for him. I forgot the actor's name. To get at least nominated because he sang. And I honestly like his interpretation of Elton John's songs more than Elton John. Like, after that movie, I love the songs so much. I was like, well, let me listen to Elton John. And I didn't like them. Like, I mean, he's a fantastic, obviously, like, a legend. But I liked that, like, he obviously sang it differently than Elton John. Yeah. And I just didn't, like, wasn't vibing with Elton John's vocal tone, whereas the actor, like, he made it his own in a very beautiful way. And, like, I felt that with this. Like, I've never really heard Elvis music. So, like, I'm curious, like, if I go and listen to Elvis music, I'm like, I don't really like it as much because this guy, I don't know, he brought something to it that made me feel it in a certain way. And sometimes, I don't know.
Well, we were getting the live performances, and so any recording of Elvis is going to be not as good.
Yeah, and then that's the other thing when you're dealing with, like, an artist who was recorded back in this time, the quality can only go so far.
Could you stop moving around in front of the mic, son?
Oh, yeah. So it's
yeah. That was charming. That was a good part.
Oh, my God.
This movie had good parts and bad parts, and there was just too many parts.
Yeah. I would have honestly just cut all the manager stuff. Like, if I could have I think, like, the perfect narrative arc for this movie would have been us just re-seeing the same concert over and over again at the Vegas hotel because he was kind of, like, imprisoned there. Yeah. And I think that would have been, like, God, like, I would have called Aaron Sorkin and been like, all right, you have to make an Elvis biopic, and then we can only experience it through his concerts. And I think that would have been an interesting challenge because his music, they go into this in the film, like, all his music, at least that what is portrayed, is seemingly, like, he's reappropriated it from experiences in his past life. Like, he went to church and heard the song, or he went to this bar and heard a song from these other black artists, and then he puts it into his own recordings, and then makes a bunch of money off of it. And then that whole thing is an entirely its own subject. But like, I think it would have been really cool because since if that is true, that he did, like, kind of use those songs, like, those are your tether to go back to the past. And, like, that's how you can easily, fill in a backstory with the same song because it plays in different moments of his life. And then, to watch, like, I'm just thinking, like, as a director, like, oh, well, like, what if the movie starts and you see this, like, initial concert and it's like, wow, that's why people love Elvis. And then the second concert and then the third concert, and you just see him degrade you know, with each progressive concert. And I don't know, I just think that would be so awesome because
Yeah.
you would feel the exhaustion to the, like, as a viewer, it's like, God, he's going to play Hound Dog again. Like, God, he's going to play this song again. And like, I can't even understand him because he's so drugged out and just flopping around everywhere. Like, he can't even hold the mic. Someone else has to hold the mic for him. And I think that, like, what that would have done emotionally would have been really amazing and interesting. And to, like, feel that. So, actually, I don't know. Maybe I do want to write an Elvis biopic. Unless there's another artist that went that crazy to where they were just absolutely incapable of performing, and then they still powered through.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was an element they didn't really talk about till the very end, where you could tell he was, like, really fucked up as Fat Elvis, and he still, like, sang his heart out. And I think, if you were to do that, like, kind of a film structure that I'm talking about, God, that'd be so emotional. Like, to see even...
Has there been a Marilyn Monroe biopic yet?
There's one coming out for Netflix, actually.
Oh, that might be that kind of story.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because she, like, performed... I don't know anything about Marilyn Monroe.
I think she performed right up until the end, and she was in movies and singing, and she was horrifically drugged out. And
oh, my God.
She degraded really fast and really horribly.
Yeah.
It could be the movie you're talking about. Now I have high hopes for that.
Yeah. It's Ana de Armas, I think, is playing her. Yeah. Yeah. We should add that to our little watch list. The biopic list. I'm trying to think of another point of discussion. So, out of the songs, was there any, like, what do you think of Elvis's music now?
I want to go find that I'm Evil song.
Ooh, yeah.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
It was so punk. I
Yeah.
was like, this is happening in like 1959 or 1960, and this is a punk show?
And it starts a riot.
And it starts a riot?
Like, was that the first mosh pit?
Yeah, it's like, that was so awesome. I don't care if it wasn't accurate. That was such an awesome scene where he's been told to wear suit and tails, and he's told to be clean Elvis, and he just sticks his middle finger, not literally, but just musically, right in everybody's eye, and the crowd loves it, and he is just wearing all leather and screaming, I'm evil, and it was so good. And I'm like, where's that song? I need that song.
Yeah. God, yeah. Like, yeah, in that performance when he's just screaming, I'm evil, over and over and over and over again. Like, there's no song, like, and that's the other thing, like, about this time period, at least from my very ignorant understanding, is like a lot of these songs were so short. Like, a lot of the songs, like, when I was trying to make a playlist in this time period, it's like 2 minutes was... like pretty
standard.
Yeah, I guess for the radio or for the vinyl pressings or whatever the reason was, technologically or financially or whatever. But all these songs felt very long. Like, there was like one time he was playing Hound Dog for like 5 minutes in the movie.
Mean, at a show, you stretch it out and you jam. I mean,
so I guess that's like my ignorant perspective. Is like, I thought all, like, even when they performed them,
I don't know,
all the songs were like just 2 minutes. But yeah, this makes me wonder, like, God, why don't we just have the live versions of all these popular songs, you know? Like Stand By Me is only like 2 minutes and like 12 seconds or something. Is there like a 10-minute like just hardcore version of that where like everyone's crying and just having a great time? Like, that would be amazing. So yeah, that's something that I found very interesting too, because I just assumed back in the day no one jammed out. That was not a thing. You play your song for 2 minutes and then it's over, and then everyone goes on with their life. But this was like, no, we keep playing, and then like all the distortion and the guitars. Like, I was like, is this how his music really sounded? Like, this is hard as fuck. Like, there was like one part where like they just go into like a crazy solo, and it's like. And he's like punching the air and stuff. Yeah. Love that.
It was super cool.
And then his capes. I can't remember if I brought up the capes, but his capes were amazing. Like, I would have just had his capes on every scene. And then like how he like flapped his cape out like he was about to take flight.
Yeah. That was all. The concerts were maybe the best part because they were the longest the camera was still. Oh yeah, and we haven't talked about Priscilla at all. She was very good.
Yeah.
I've never seen that actress before, But she
Yeah,
looked
me
vaguely
neither.
familiar to me, but I couldn't place her. Maybe I've seen her on TV somewhere.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a good performance. I thought she was very empathetic. As like that he had met his match, that she was smart and she was fun and she was, the one that finally made him end his whole "I'm not allowed to have a girlfriend because I have to seem available for the fans"
Yeah.
thing. And it made sense. I was like, yeah, that girl's badass. Like she is worthy of Elvis, kind of, because that's when you have the wife of a superstar. How do you not just make her be the kind of carbon cutout, like, wife of the superstar?
Yeah.
Poor persecuted wife that's mad that he's on tour all the time, but she was there with him on tour, and she was there with him on set for the movies he made, and it really seemed like he made an effort to make her a part of his life, and she was enjoying the stardom as much as he was, and that was kind of refreshing in biopic terms to have her around as much as she was around, and I hope that was accurate.
Yeah. And I did, like, I loved her performance. I love how she felt with, like, Butler, like, because they both felt like two unknowns just in this role. And then also, like, I liked, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I like how towards the end, she's like, I already have this all set up for you to get clean.
Yeah.
Specifically for, like, their daughter. And then I love how the movie doesn't, I like how that played out, because I felt like disappointed in Elvis for not taking that chance. And I think that's like a tricky tightrope, especially because the last thing he says to her is like, I'll always love you or whatever.
Yeah.
And any other, I think most films, someone's like, I'll always love you. And then they go off and keep doing what they're doing. And then they die or whatever. And then it's like sad wife forever. But the look that she gave him, and this is all just her performance that I felt personally, was like you won't even do it when I offer you everything, she was lending out the final hand. And like, even though he says I love you to her, her face is not I love you back. It is just
she doesn't
extreme
say back. She's just like,
like disappointment, and like it's over. Like you are literally choosing to just commit suicide in like slow motion. And the disappointment, and then also like the fondness that she has for him, but then also like disappointment. It's like a lot of emotions in one, and I think she did a fantastic job.
She conveyed it really well, and their breakup scene was really powerful too.
Yeah, and that was another point where I was like, oh my gosh, she's just gonna get back with him, and then she like hugs him and stuff. But that whole time, it didn't feel like, even though she was in love with him, there was enough like gray feeling where I didn't know what she was gonna do.
Yeah,
and I think that is like a testament to her performance. Where I was like, wait, is she staying with him? Is she not staying with him? Oh, she left. Thank God. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm leaving because you're a ghost. And he's like, do you still love me? And I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, who cares? That's what you're thinking about? Not, I'm sorry I'm not here. And and I'm sorry we haven't had a dinner as a family in years or however long it's been. And I'm sorry that I'm out on tour so much and I'm drugged out when I'm home. None of that. Just, do you still love me? Like, okay, asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a good scene. That was a good breakup scene. In the Hall of Fame of breakup scenes, that one was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I liked her little bag. There was like a bag that looked like half a wheel.
Oh yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, all the 1960s style and the little details and everybody's hair and everybody's bell bottoms. I was loving the costumes in this movie. The whole time.
And it didn't look cheesy or generic. Like, it felt appropriate. Like, as soon as he gets back from the military, I'm like, oh, we're in a different time period now.
Yeah.
And that transition was like very harsh, but it felt right, and it didn't feel out of place, and it just kept feeling right all the way through.
Yeah.
Where in other movies, I've seen them jump from like one time period to another time period, and the dress changes drastically, and it was like, oh, I still feel like I'm tied to the other time period. It's just now the costume is different, but it still feels like it's from the previous.
Yeah.
So they did a good job like separating the two through all the sets and costumes.
Still gave me a headache. Still made me very tired.
Yeah,
it made me feel very overwhelmed.
Definitely the enemy of this film is Baz Luhrmann. Again, like, there's some directors where, like, yes, he has a hugely unique sense of style and taste and like direction and tone, but like, it's almost too much for me. Like, I wonder who is like a hardcore Baz head And it's like, I love getting it. Like, I love this franticness. Like, just pump it in my veins, literally.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's the editor's fault. You know, they're just doing their job, whatever they're told. But yeah, like, because I felt the same way with, like, The Great Gatsby. I was like, this could be really cool and sweet. And it's almost, like, too much, you know? Yeah. And this one was way more, like, I think this is his most frantic movie.
And it was so long.
Yeah.
And how can something be so long and so frantic for that, sustain that level of frantic for that long? Like, what an overstimulating, exhausting experience it was.
And then even when I think about, like, just what we covered in Elvis's life, like, he had so many different periods. Like, he did, like, Christmas specials, it seemed like, for an eternity. He did movies, like...
I think that was just one Christmas special. It was just a really long sequence.
Okay. Yeah, so like the cadence of all of them didn't make sense. Like normally in these kind of biopic movies you have, you know, your initial like setting up the character, their origin story, a brother dies. It's like, you know, like something sad happens and then they go off somewhere and then they come back and they're already married and they have like 12 kids and they're like, I just want to make music, baby. That's all I want to do.
You're describing Dewey Cox.
Yeah, and then they get their they finally get their moment. They record something, and then you get like one cool performance, and then you go into a montage of like a touring life, and then the breakup, and then another montage of now he's addicted to drugs, and then you know Clint. But this movie was like there was just montages all over the place, and then like when it did slow down. It was like, it didn't feel like we were slowing down and then evolving into something. It just felt like, oh, now more montages. And then now more montages. So it was like, I don't know. I couldn't tell like the rhythm of the movie, like the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like a clear, like, oh my God, we're building to something. And then it ends. And then I feel emotional. It was just like, there was like probably like 5 moments in this movie where I feel like it could have ended and it would have been really great. Like before even the ending. And then even the ending, there's like another ending after the ending, just because the narrative structure with the manager guy, like he kept slowing it all down. It's like, well, I'll tell you the real story. I'm not evil. It was his fans, and I didn't get him addicted to drugs. It was the hippies. The hippies did it all. Mm-hmm. So like all of that, I was like that. All that could have been cut because we're seeing it. We're seeing whatever he is saying. That is happening.
Oh well.
Yeah. So I think that could have saved like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's why I gave it a 4.
Yeah. Did you have any other major points you wanted to talk about?
No, that was a movie.
Yeah.
I want to go watch some Elvis footage now. That's about it. And I can't wait to see what that actor does next.
Yeah, he's gonna be. I mean, hopefully he gets nominated. I'm actually like kind of interested what happens. Again, just to go into like a little mini Oscar chat.
But it hasn't. It's kind of early for Oscar season. This movie might get forgotten.
No. I mean, I'm trying to think of another movie that came out this early and still. I don't know. It's not like it's Elvis Presley. Like, he has to either him like, and that's the thing I wanted to bring up was like it's actually kind of like a win-win situation that these inmate. I don't know if this is the reason they picked this narrative structure. Probably not. But I can see a studio being like, oh my God, this is genius. Because they could easily put Tom Hanks as the lead. Because the film is technically his.
Yeah.
And then you could have Elvis as a supporting actor nom. Like, he would fucking clean house if he was the supporting actor.
But he was the lead. He was the title character. That would make me... They should both get nominated for lead if you're going to do that.
I don't know. But then, but then the other flip of that is, even if he is, lead actor, it's still Elvis. He gives a huge performance. And then Tom Hanks is supporting. Yeah. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
So, like, especially because he's a character. So I see it as, like they're going to gauge, like, how... everything like rolls out. Like, do we have a lot of leads where it's competitive? How is the supporting looking? And then like we can bank on Tom Hanks's name to get into a lead, just guaranteed off the bat. Where this newer performer, you know, would probably have more difficulty. But as a supporting, because a lot of like, I feel like the supporting actor wins usually go to more youthful performers. Like, I feel like that's where a lot of people get their first Oscars, and then the leads usually go to like more veteran, it was his time to win kind of elements. So Yeah, I find that interesting.
Yeah, well, I hope this movie has some buzz because the performances were definitely
Yeah.
good. I think the Priscilla actress would be a supporting actress, but I would definitely hope that she gets that nod.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, and then I guess one of the final questions we have here is this movie canon?
No.
Biopic canon?
No, I don't even think it's like that. But there's...
Tom Hanks canon?
Maybe, yeah.
Wait, you would actually put this like in his like Mount Rushmore of performances?
Not Mount Rushmore, but I mean, this is an impressive... He really
changed. Yeah.
He wasn't just Tom Hanks. But, I mean, his better... He really changed performance was the Mr. Rogers one, so...
See, I haven't seen that
I haven't seen that, but I've like heard the voice he does, and it's so impressive.
Wow.
So...
That's like, I feel like that's probably one of the most difficult things for an actor is to change your voice.
Yeah.
Because if you screw up, and then especially if you're emoting, like I think subconsciously your body would want to speak how it has spoken for its entire life.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're crying and then you break into normal Tom Hanks vocal range, it would be a problem. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. What about Elvis canon?
I don't know. I can't wait.
Is there any other Elvis movies?
I think so.
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch like his early movies.
Like his actual movies. Yeah.
Like back when they were sort of saying he was a good actor before it became all fluff and beach movies. I'd like to see that Western that he was in.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. No canon for Elvis. I think it is on a performance canon. Like if the great performances, I think Austin Butler did a fantastic job. But anyways, that's going to conclude this episode of Cineverm. Thank you so much for listening. We would be grateful and humbled if you could leave us a review or rating with your thoughts or comments on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you could share us with your friends or family, as that helps us in our journey to spread the love of cinema. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.